dreams. A whip clean, a shift mean green, sip lean, and the ops don't know. Free up my team with a big dream and a mean man, never go pro. See man up in the chat, but I know how to react, po-po, never so cold. Come run up in the back, get a back, you don't want this.
How come you guys weren't dancing? That was
Hello, everybody.
Woo, woo, woo.
Real, wasn't
Hello,
it?
everybody. We are live. We are starting this masterclass. Finally. You guys watching, let us know where you're from. We have talked about this class now for a few weeks before going to the World Championships, and we've been super excited to get started. And finally, we are here. So we want to know who is with us. Where are you guys from? Let us know in the comments.
Hungary. Pink Pops from Hungary. Hi, Carol Brown. I see you.
Wow, Colombia is in the house.
Calgary.
Colombia, Georgia. Oh my
Great
God.
Britain.
Finland is on board.
I am still on Scandinavian time myself. And you guys never had to leave your time zone.
Me too. I'm on Scandinavian time. Just saying.
True. I'm true. That means I'm in Scandinavian time as well.
Kitchener, Ontario, Norway. Hi, Katrine. Williamsburg, VA. I know it. That's beautiful.
Wow, Netherlands or Norway.
Quebec.
Sweden is in the house. Hi,
Salt Lake
Linnea.
City, another beautiful place.
Oh my
Max,
God.
tell them how they can win.
Oh my God. You need to share this live on whatever social that you're watching on, and you could win an amazing Handling 360 toy. So everybody who shares this live now gets into a draw, and then you can win a Handling 360 tug toy by For My Merles, which is
Just for My Merles.
The cards
Yes.
for My Merles. All you have to do is share it on wherever social media, on a story, on a whatever, and then share the link so people can join, and then just come back into the comments, say that you've shared. Yeah. I'm going to do two. You know what? I'm going to do two. These are, I couldn't decide which toy. Two of my favorite toys. I like this one because of the fluffy and because of the little ball. It's great for puppies, but it's great for all my border collies love this toy. But this is my new favorite because it's so small. It's got a, are we allowed to say the brand? The Chuck It ball. Belief.
And this is also the Belief Safe toy, right?
Yeah.
This is the only one that can survive Belief.
Belief would ruin the life of this toy in about 12 seconds. This one she's had for months and has not made a mark on it. So we'll give away one at the end of this, and then we'll do another one for the people who are watching this on recording because, people are in different parts of the world. So if you share this broadcast, because if you think like we do that really good dog training should be part of all Agility Dogs Foundation, then I promise you today we are going to be sharing really, really good dog training. So when you share this on your feed, you are helping the education of the friends that you have that love dog agility or just dog training. Good dog training.
Awesome. Yeah. I've just seen there's somebody watching from Hungse, which is basically 100 meters, from my house.
Really? Do you know the person?
Not yet.
Sometimes people are in the town that I'm in, and I don't know them. I think that's awesome.
I see someone here writing Skåne too. This is the area that we moved to 3 weeks ago.
Cool. So let me share an overview of what's going to happen. We have so much planned, so I'm not entirely sure how long we will be going for. Our goal is always an hour, but we have a lot planned. So the focus of this whole masterclass is tight turns. And so we're going to go over a lot of the theory about the why, about the what ifs. Then today we're going to share the 4-step process we use in Handling 360 that we use with our own dogs, that Max is really keen to get a new puppy soon so that he can start training with his latest puppy, who's just a little embryo right now. Yeah. And we're going to share. So step 1, you're going to learn today. Then step 2 and 3, you'll learn on live number 2. Step 4, or I think step 3, you learn on live 3, and step 4, you learn on live 4. Okay. So these toys are for my Merles, Beverly. They're from Canada, and they've been around for decades. Decades, these toys have been around. Love, 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 love my For My Merle toys. Okay, so Dare, did Dissy have a great time in Copenhagen? She really did. It was a really, really good trip for so many reasons. I mean, it's awesome when the 3 of us can spend time together, even though we all had other priorities. We managed every day to get together. And it was just so awesome to be able to see this at a big event and to be able to handle the enormity of that event and the loudness of the crowd. So, and I really, really enjoyed my teammates on Team Canada. And it's different for us than Max and Enya and I have talked about our experiences, because in Canada, we might live 4,000 kilometers from one of our teammates. So we don't even know them. I really felt there was a lot of unity, which is so difficult when you're spread apart in such a big country, but thoroughly enjoyed every part of my experience. Okay, maybe one part I didn't love, but we don't need to talk about that. But I thoroughly enjoyed my week. It was amazing. It was awesome.
I think what you did the absolute best that you could do from that week.
Absolutely.
Even if it exactly like you wanted to, we got to be together. We had so many learning opportunities. We got to meet our community, and there was so many positives from that week.
And I want to give a shout out to Jenny Dam from Sweden and the White Dog Intermediate team, because we became a little team of our own, and it was a super experience. I've never run White Dog at a World Championships, and I hope not until maybe when I'm 90 I'll do it again, but until then I want to keep competing for my country. And but it was a really cool experience because of the people that were there, Cece and Amy and like the whole group. So shout out to them. We have a question because we're talking about tight turns. We would like you, one of you guys can ask this question, and I'm going to drink a little bit of coffee because I haven't had enough sleep.
Okay, so why should we care about how tight why does it matter? Write in the comments why you think we should care about that. And it turns on jumps, turns on tunnels. Why do we need them?
Yeah.
We're going to share what we think are our reasons why tight turns are important. But Victorio says speed, time. Karina says the same thing.
Yeah.
Speeds up your run.
Faster times, timing. Yeah. Potential slipping. It's a big one. Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Safety. I like that one.
Accuracy. Good wording. Very true.
Mm-hmm. There was a really good one. Courtney said.
Yeah.
Things you don't think of.
Yeah.
Because it helps. It's easier to keep a dog on course when they're turning appropriate for the next line. Super important.
Here we have avoid dropping poles when at full speed.
Yes. Good one, Anna. Super good one.
Less likely to take off-course obstacles.
Right, because they're staying, Janita said, staying on the correct lines. And the more complex the course, the more important those lines are.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think you guys have hit a lot of the bigger ones. Lisa, really good. Lisa's a judge. You can tell this. She's thinking about the lines of the dog with tight turns. The dog collects his body better, and it's safer for the landing, for sure, for sure. So a lot of really, and we're going to touch a little bit on what we feel, but I think you guys have hit everything that we said. I think a big, like the big one is safety. So we're going to start right off by talking about the pain points of dogs that maybe aren't turning as tight as we would absolutely love them to turn. So I'm going to start right off. Oh, I'm going to put down my question so we can read that. Hold on. Okay. So dogs who turn wide. You guys, you can jump in and I'm going to interject.
Yeah, we had so many people saying safety, which is also the first one for us. It says potential injury. But a dog that either isn't trained properly to turn tight or gets the information way too late that the course is turning in a certain direction has a huge risk of injuring themselves because they would land on their shoulders or on their face.
And you do that with green handlers too, right?
Yeah. And if the dog can prepare for the turn, what we will talk about tonight also is like how the perfect turn looks for us. And if the dog can prepare their body for the turn, it has a lower impact on the dog. So the potential injury and the safety of having a dog that understands how to use their body when they're turning tight, it's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, for sure. Just a quick thing. Debbie asks, need to go out training session. Will this be recorded? Yes, it will. Don't worry. You can rewatch this later. Okay, I'm going to go to the second point, which is refusal and off courses. So basically, a wide turn can lead to your dog seeing all different situations. And also it leads yourself to either you're staying there, that means you're getting lost on the next situation, or you go ahead and your dog sees something else. There's a refusal possibility. There's off courses, eliminations. Susan, what are you doing with that cute little dog?
So I was going to give a demo. Like if we want a dog to land and turn and come back to us, if they don't turn tight, then they're seeing other things, right?
Yes.
And
very clear demo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also on that one, what you said, Max, you stop to watch the dog and maybe you won't get into the position where you plan to be and you will be late for the next situation. But also the inconsistency, like if you don't know if the dog will turn tight or not, then you don't know what to expect. And there were so many people mentioning in the comments that it keeps the dog on the line, on the course. And that means if you cue something with your body or with your words, and you know, with this, when I cue this, I want the dog to end up here, and then suddenly the dog is not ending up there. That's going to create some like inconsistency in the turns, and then you might just end up being too late for the next situation. So refusals, off courses, but also what Max said, you freeze. You just freeze to watch your dog, and then the next thing gets difficult.
Because you know, we're going to bring this line up a lot over the whole masterclass. Is in the perfect world of dog agility, you really invest your time as a dog trainer. You're a dog trainer in every day of your life and every interaction with your dog. You're a dog trainer away from the competition ring so that you can be a handler in the competition ring. And when your dog turns wide because maybe the dog training was not complete, you now have to switch from, handler to dog trainer. And when you make that switch from handler to dog trainer, you now pause, have to create a new line. And now your dog is get back up to speed and you have to quickly, switch back, I'm a handler. That, if you can do your 30 or 40 second run in the mind of a handler, it makes all the difference in the world to you. And this is important at any stage of agility, but in particular, once you get over the age of 30 and your focus is maybe not as quick to switch back and forth, so critical. So anybody watching over the age of 30, give me a heart. And if you're double the age of over 30, give me 2.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Now you puppy's 25.
And then there's timeline. The next one. I mean, it's an obvious one. If you're asking for a tight turn and the dog doesn't turn tight, they open up the line, meaning they drift. They will lose a lot of time. In dog agility, for some, at least in Europe, we measure quite often the meters per second that the dog is running. I don't know if you measure yards per second.
Yards per second. Yep.
And let's say, for example, if I'm asking for a tight turn and my dog runs 5 meters extra, I don't know what that would be in yards, but
that's about 5 yards, little less.
Yeah,
or a little more.
Okay, that's easy. So if my dog is a dog that runs around 5 meters per second, that's a whole second in every turn. So it's a lot of time lost too.
And when a dog is turning wide and they think that, oh, I'm turning and I see a tunnel over here, so I'm going to make a nice soft turn so I can go in that tunnel, but you really wanted them to turn tight, then you're going to scream at them, hey, turn tight. And that's when the bar falls down. When they're surprised by the line you want, they didn't predict the line you want. And we're going to talk later in this class today why that might happen as a handler. Okay, some more pain points if your dog is turning wide.
Yeah, frustration for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And actually that comes from almost all of the other pain points that we've already touched on. So bar knocking, wide turns, loss of time, off course, elimination, like all of that leads to you being frustrated if you can't figure out how to do it better. Why is that happening? A lot of times I see people, they come out of a run and like, oh, why didn't he turn tighter? He went into that tunnel. Or they didn't even realize that the tight turn and obstacle before was actually the cause of the off course to obstacles later.
I like to think of a wide turn, an unexpected wide turn. For those of you from Australia, you might have to go to your happy place because this might not be a relevant thing for you. But when you're driving in the snow and you get a little fishtail and your back end goes this way, if you correct it too much, then it goes that way. And then you correct it this. So when a dog turns wide unexpectedly and you have to correct it, well, now you're on a line you didn't expect when you were walking the course. So now you're going to have to second correct. Sometimes in the agility world, you don't get to do 2 course corrections or 3 course corrections because then you get an off course. And that goes back to the frustration, right?
Yeah.
Karma gets you.
Yeah, the agility god. After 2 times, like, no, you're out. And I think also when we're touching, on the frustration, which is what I would say more of an emotional pain point, then I think also we have the frustration can turn into the comparison that you're comparing yourself to others that might have tight turns, and you maybe go into self-doubt because you don't know if this is something I can fix, if is this a dog that I can handle, is this the dog? So I mean, it just spirals into lots of emotional pain points that I think so many like people can relate to.
And also, like, an extension of that, of the spiraling is, I can't use my soft turn cue here. So because my dog is going to go straight. So then I'm going to use my tight turn, because then I'll get not straight. I'll get like a little bit of a turn. And then you start using your tight turn in a way you really shouldn't be. So you lose that tight turn.
To the tight turns. Yeah, they're gone. And then the next time you want a tight turn, you don't have a tight turn anymore because you watered the criteria of the tight turn. I think this is very common, that people do this because they know if I cue the soft turn, it won't be enough. So I will cue the tight turn to make sure I get a turn. And then you lose your tight turns.
So there's 9 valid reasons why a dog turning wide can be a pain point to agility. Sometimes it's a physical pain point to the dog that leads to injury, that leads to you not being able to run agility, but also it's a snowballing. I'm using all of these winter references. I apologize to those of you in Brazil and Australia, but it just keeps, it adds on each other, and then you get some real problems. Okay, so we're going to now talk about some of the reasons why a dog might turn wide in agility. First obvious one, maybe it's not so obvious, is like I always do a little warm up with my dog to see how tight they will turn, to see if there's something after I've done my warm up that tells me there is something strained, something's not working as well as it should be. So a dog might turn, especially if they're turning tight one direction and wide the other, that could be that they're telling you, I need to see a physio or a massage therapist or a chiro or an osteopath. So there could be some sort of pain that they are avoiding there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So also when we talk about like physical and fitness things, something that I do hear a lot and which is true is the structure of your dog. But so there's a valid reason to mention that for sure. And I've been there and I've done that. But it's not an excuse not to give your dog the chance to work more on the tighter turns. So there's dogs who are like very heavy boned, or they like really have a hard time turning their neck. But do we just say, yeah, that's just my dog? And then, you know, do all of these pain points that we've mentioned earlier, do we like risk and say, okay, that's just my dog, that's the structure? Or do we say, I can still improve that? Because maybe it won't be the tightest turner in the world, but I can still improve the dog I have in front of me.
And if you do the steps that we're going to give you in this workshop, in this masterclass, then every dog's turn will improve for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And if we know that, yes, my dog is fit enough, my dog is healthy, and there's no physical problem, then one reason why the dogs might turn wide is if you trained it only standing still. I think this is super common that when you do the foundations, you stand still, and it's so much easier for the dog to turn tight when you are not moving. And then when you feel like, okay, now my tight turns are working, and you start putting it into some sequences, and suddenly the dog is no longer turning tight because now you are moving, they get more speed. So I think that's very common that you're too static in the beginning.
Or you're only moving in support of the tight turn. You never progress your training. So standing still. I think the more common is people just standing still, teaching all their turns standing still, and then they try to run and
it's just unrealistic situations.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one is a biggie. There's so many things we could talk about with. There are so many props that people would use when they're teaching tight turns, and probably the biggest, when we say the improper use of props, number one, they come out too early, or number two, they're used for too long. You should not be using, well, let's talk about what are the props. What are some of the props that people might be using? I don't know. Do we have a slide on props?
We have a slide on that, I think.
Okay. So let's just not, we can move on and talk about it with the slide on props.
Yeah, I think we have a whole slide on props, because that is probably the most common thing we see is that people rely on props to help their dogs turn tight. And the moment you remove the prop or the help for the dog can no longer turn tight. And then the prop is no longer a prop, it turns into crutches, because your dog can't do it without. And that's not teaching the dog to turn tight.
And we want to teach you to teach your dog.
Exactly. And we want to teach your dog to turn tight regardless of where you are positioned in relation to the jump, how much you're moving, and without the crutches. That's the goal.
Yeah, and that is for sure. Next thing is for sure something that I see a lot in like the modern agility training is that people avoid the difficult turns and it comes from a good space, because they want to avoid like failure and frustration on their dog. But instead of training the behavior so you don't have to avoid it, lots of people would just avoid the difficult turns. And then at one point, you're in that situation, there's this difficult turn, you haven't prepped for it, but everybody would still go in and try it, which is kind of unfair because you haven't prepped for it.
Yeah.
Right? So an example of a difficult turn, like if you wanted your dog to, if this is a jump and you wanted your dog they're coming from this extreme angle and you wanted them to go to the backside and turn tight, well, that would be a difficult turn. They would probably want to land outside of this wing. Now, today in this workshop, we're not talking about getting tight backside turns. I mean, that is a different process in handling 360. We've got to help you get the front ones first. So, but there's the difficult turns. You don't just let the dog go wide, say, oh, well, they can't do that.
We have a question here from Molly that says, why would you use a prop in training? What could be an example of prop? And I know we just mentioned props really quickly, but we will go deeper into what props.
3 more slides.
Yeah, 3 more slides, and then we will give it to you, Molly.
Yep. And then the last thing is, I mean, the way we're going to teach the tight turns comes right from our Handling 360 classroom, and it's a lot of layers. I don't know of anybody else that does these layers. And so when people say, oh, my dog just can't turn tight, I think if you keep the thought in your mind, the way I've trained my dog to turn tight hasn't given him enough education to be able to do that. So it isn't necessarily that your dog can't turn tight. It's that potentially you have moved on and started running sequences, and without that dog's understanding, without all the props, the dog doesn't have the innate understanding of what tight turns mean. And we're hoping that we can help you fix that the way we've helped our students fix that. Okay, so
I think when it comes to rushed training, it comes like it's usually that most people I meet that rushed their training, they don't know the steps. So it doesn't come from a bad place. It's just they don't know how to do it differently than they did it. So that's what we want to help with, is to give the steps for how to build it properly.
I think I'm going to skip these 2 slides. We'll come back to them because I think people want the props. We're going props. We're going all in on props now. So we'll come back to the mistakes, but let's talk about props. So here are some props.
Yeah, number 1 huge thing is the actual handler being yourself, the position where you're standing still, front crossing, like any kind of like catch-skirt K-turn where you're like turning around, trying to throw yourself in front of your dog or the jump to create a tight turn. That's definitely a prop. I think lots of people would not think about a human as a prop, but it's actually one.
And if you watch the AWC, there's a lot of super young, super fast handlers that could get in front of every single turn for their dogs. But there's also a risk to that. Like, even if you can, it's so much better to put in the foundation to train it, so you don't have to be the trainer when you're running it.
Yeah,
you can be the handler.
And when we say props, it means just different types of help that will make your dog do the behavior. And the thing that we stand for is that the dog understands with the training that it has from before. So for example, a pre-placed toy would be maybe creating the behavior that you want. If you place a toy at the wing, that would potentially make your dog turn tight. But it would be luring your dog into the behavior. So when you remove the toy, you don't necessarily know if your dog was all the time turning towards a toy or if they actually understood what they were doing. So luring the dog into the behavior, or for example, forcing the dog into the behavior with gates or a turning pole, is not going to teach the dog how to do it properly. And in the end, that becomes what it says when props becomes crutches. In the end, it becomes a crutch that your dog is relying on this. And anytime you are not pre-placing the toy, or anytime you are not pre-placing a gate, then the dog will not turn tight. So we want to teach the dog how to do it without those crutches.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that we would never use them. You just need a structure of how it makes sense.
Yes.
So,
and your plan how to fade them.
Yeah, definitely. So if I'm looking at all of the ones that we've put here on that slide, I would say that probably all of them, well, one we wouldn't, but most of them we would use occasionally, but we wouldn't use them to teach our dog. We would occasionally use it to create a different thing, to reinforce, for example, an expectation of the dog, something like that. I'm looking, for example, at the multi-wraps. I see a lot of people training multi-wraps and expecting their dog to understand the complete tight turn behavior. The thing is with multi-wraps, if your first turn is wide and you're doing the second one, you're actually rehearsing that.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So if you want to use the multi-wrap, the first wrap needs to be the perfect one. And then you could use the second one, for example, for that continued head motion, the same way we would use a nicely placed reinforcement in that situation to create that head turn even more.
Yeah. Targeting after jump.
That's the one I meant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you go through all of these, why don't I just, if you can, Kim, can you read these to me? And I'll get up and I'll just show with the jump what a lot of these look like. I don't have a gate to, or a wing. Yeah, you can get one of those new ones that we just got from AWC. All right, I'm going to change my camera. So we'll talk about props. Maybe Kim's going to go downstairs so you guys can read them to me. So the first one would be never letting a dog do a turn without you standing right here so that they turn nice and tight. Young man, you were doing something and no one invited you. So
I was scared to talk to you.
I was talking to your grandson. Okay, the next one would be, and pre-placed toys are not something I've ever done to to teach a turn. I think the three of us are more likely to reward dogs with a toy than to place it. So if a dog goes wide, somebody will then immediately put a toy down there. Come here, Fat. You can come now. And then they would go bloop, 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 so that the dog always gets it right. I would be more likely to do something like this around. Bloop, 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 bloop. Yes, come here. Thank you. Around. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bring me. Good. So I would be more likely to use that toy as a distraction for my dog than as a way to get them to do it. But that's something a lot of people like to use pre-placed toys because they don't want the dog to fail. This is another thing people would do, is they would put a gate in a way that blocks the dog from going wide. It might go here, it might go here, that they want the dog to have a target that they look at, that they don't, he's never seen one of these before, so I don't think he's going to even see it. Loop, 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 loop. So obviously, that's okay. Right on the broken toe. Thank you so much.
And that can actually be dangerous if you just place a gate there and forcing the dog to do the behavior because there is no other way than turning tight around the wing. That could actually be dangerous. And then let's say we have a dog that didn't learn it properly, or we have a dog with a fitness problem. I mean, that's not going to teach the tight turns to the dog.
I've also seen at seminars where they take wings and they will like put wings here and keep building them up so the dog can't go around. And again, I think part of the problem is a seminar presenter might use some of these tricks so that you feel good about your dog, but it isn't maybe something they would do with their own dog necessarily. Okay, the targeting. Yes, Kim.
Somebody wants to know
multi-wrap.
If you're training, can you make your string bigger?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I can do that now. Hold on. I think I need to. There. And then I'll take this off. Okay. Multi-wrap. And oh, I don't think Max and Enya can talk now though. Okay, Max and Enya, I'll just do a couple demos and I'll bring you back. Bring me. Thank you. So a multi-wrap would be when I send the dog loop, 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 loop. So do you see how he didn't go wide, but he looked to me to say, do you want me to go again? Now, that shouldn't matter if I'm moving. Loop, 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 loop. So even though I moved out of the sight, he understands his job and he kept doing that. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and Max and Enya can come back, I have had people who have taught their dogs to nose target a part of this, the jump, either the foot or, come here, or break, or like landing and nose targeting. Actually, most of that I've seen have nose targeted after the jump, which none of us have ever done that. Okay, I'm gonna bring Max and Enya back in. There. So, sorry guys, you weren't allowed to talk. They wanted to see the big picture. Come on, Fat, we're done. So my challenge, so why don't you guys talk about targeting the landing of a jump?
Yeah, I mean,
Max, you're a racer. You talk about that one.
I was a racer. That's why she wants me to talk about it.
Okay, honestly, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm very so. If you want to run an agility course, what would be your ideal goal? Your ideal goal would be the perfect line with the perfect time, right? So why would I want my dog not to accelerate out of a turn? Like,
yeah, it doesn't make sense that they should collect after the turn. Like, we want our dogs to decel before taking off so they can land on the correct spot and then accelerate out of the turn. But with the target on the wing or on the feet after the jump, like Max says, it teaches deceleration out of the turn. And I think it can create the tightness, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
And in all honesty, like touching on something Susan said about seminar presenters, most of these things are a quick fix band-aid for right now. But, and I can tell you from my own experience with not being the dog trainer I am today, when I trained Make, my Sheltie that just retired, I've done almost all of the things that we've listed here. And temporarily, it did improve a little bit, but it actually never really got like successful and very confident in your tight turns. So I've heard a lot of things, and sometimes in trainings, if you know, what I tend to do, and that's like a thing, like if we can't fix it right now, there's a way you could use something like that, but this is a one-time thing, and you need to train, and that's why all of you are in here, because you want to learn how to actually create the behavior for successful and beautiful tight turns.
Exactly.
I really like what Courtney said.
Go ahead, Enya.
If you see the comment from Courtney, it says, I wish seminar presenters would give more homework than band-aids.
Yes.
What a great comment, Courtney.
Very good.
That's a good one. I want to share, and I would say Max is probably the best in the world at this one. Something that looks like a pre-placed toy, but it is not. So I'm going to demonstrate it, which is going to be hard because the jump is set so low. I want you to tell me what is the difference between a pre-placed toy and what I'm doing. And I'm going to make Max and Enya go off the screen again, which this way I could keep your microphones live and just remove yourself. But I don't know how to do that. I don't know if it is even possible. Okay, so what's the difference between a pre-placed toy, which I already showed, and this one? Okay, come on. Okay. Oh, Enya's back. Okay, now I got to change my camera. So we get the dog camera. Okay, come here, Fetty. I'm going to send him. Actually, I'm going to move this jump back a little bit so There we go. He's like, yes, I get to do something again. Yes, yes, yes. So come here, bud. I'm going to send him from here so you can see me. Loop, 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 loop. Okay, that was a Max Sprints kind of a throw right there. I got to say, I'm pretty proud of that. Max, were you proud of that throw?
I agree. That was very, very good.
Very Max Sprint of me. Sprints. Okay, what was the difference between what I just did and a pre-placed toy? In the comments.
Yeah, okay. I'm being quiet. It's like it's my thriving topic, so I'm gonna shut up.
He only got to see the toy after he completed the behavior. Basinski said this.
So if you guys, the reward wasn't visible to the dog, it was out of the dog's line of sight when it's thrown, so it appears. So if you don't want to go to the dog training work we're going to share with you in this masterclass, if you take that one little gem right there, it will still improve your dog's turns. That one little gem, because even if Prophet had turned way wide, he would have realized there's nothing for me to look at. I can't target something as I'm turning. There isn't a toy on the ground that I value. I turned super wide, but oh my God, this appeared right here. And if that appears in the same place magically, when there's nothing there for them to target, they're going to start turning tighter and tighter as long as they physically can. So if you take nothing away from this masterclass, you don't want to do all the fun games we're going to teach you to teach your dog how to turn the way Prophet has been showing you, then that little gem is going to be a massive, massive value.
Like Anne said here, one is a lure, one is a reward.
Yeah.
Boom. Another gem. You guys are full of it. Just saying. You're full of it.
Yeah. Honestly, it just creates the expectation and giving like a little secret salt on it right here. I love to use that type of reward when you're in a distance to the dog, because a lot of times you see dogs turning quite nicely and then it gets worse over time, and people don't like pay attention to where they reinforce their tight turn anymore. And I love, especially when I have an independent situation, to throw the toy, or if you're still learning how to throw it a little better, have somebody throw it in for you to the perfect spot, even if you're in a distance. So imagine you're still here, your dog is over there turning around here, but you can reward in this direction. You don't really see it closer to me. So your dog's anticipating a full-on turn, even though you're back there. And that will create the expectation of an even tighter turn without luring.
Maybe you can hire Garrett for that, just to toss the toy for you.
Well, I want to say, you want to trust the person. So if I'm training with Max or Enya, I will 99% of the time give them my toy, so that the surprise reinforcement is there to the dog and they're not always checking back in with me. Now, there may be things we're working on where I want the dog driving into me, but but you want to do it with somebody that you can trust, that they're not going to throw it inappropriately, the dog's going to like somersault before they get it. But yeah, it's huge. I'm going to answer a couple of questions or put these out. First one is, let you guys answer this. If you teach a multi-wrap, doesn't that mean you can get a mistake on course when you say the loop more than once? But you only want one turn.
I know what that means, and I think it depends on the situation. Number one, I wouldn't like. It depends how much you use it. Like, even continuing to move and you're expecting your dog to keep turning there, then you might have a problem at one point. But usually I would say the motion is kind of like the release of that turn. Either a new cue or the motion is the release of the new cue.
But
and also, no, I was just going to say that I think the most common way I see it used in seminars or in competitions is that people use it as a correction. And
the multi-wrap.
Yes. So the dog is, for example, not turning tight enough, and then they ask them to do it again. And I think this can create that the dog is unsure because they are not fully sure what the behavior is. They know they can be asked to do it again, but they are not fully confident in the behavior. We don't use multi-wrap so much to, like, we definitely don't use it to teach a tight turn. You can see us do it, but I think we use it more for commitment. So that creates, in a competition situation, the criteria is the commitment. If we are not happy with the tight turn in a competition, then we would rather do the analysis. Is this something I want to fix now? Because for some dogs, fixing it in competition is not the best thing. Maybe I need to do more work at home. If this is something we want to do now, we wouldn't fix it with a multi-wrap. So no, I don't think that will cause the confusion.
I think here's how it could cause the confusion. And we see this all the time as instructors. Okay, we have jump number 1. You see jump 1, jump 2, jump 3. Now, the section up to jump 2, I've labeled A, B, C, and D. First section is not labeled anything. That's where the dog will land. Where will you start to say loop, loop, and where will you stop? So if I'm still saying loop, loop, when my dog gets to E, they should know I want them to repeat. Because as Enya just said, we say the cue to get them to commit. But once they're committed, we're not still saying the cue. So I might stop saying loop, loop at B or C, probably close to C. I'm not saying loop, loop when my dog is at D. And I'm definitely not saying loop, loop when my dog is at E.
No.
So but a lot of people don't start saying the cue till their dog is at C. And that's the problem.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what we are always focusing on, helping our students to understand. And we call them handling triggers. What line do you see? How do we know what's committed? How do we know when we can then focus most of the time, our lower body to commit to the next line and still support them when they're moving on? So I think with that question is pertinent for people who don't start saying the cue until their dog is at C, right? We're going to be saying it somewhere between B and A and B, and we're going to stop saying it before they get to D, where a lot of people are still saying loop, loop when their dog is at E.
Yeah.
And I think that's a biggie.
And if you, for example, adding on to that, if you have, can you show your thing again, Susan?
Yep.
That makes sense. So if your dog is turning on to the left on the second jump, and you go to jump number 3, and number 3 would be a loop loop, that would put E also in an A position, or even not labeled, because that's a moment of silence. And in that moment, your dog is refocusing on the next situation, and that creates, it's very easier to create the next turn without them multi-wrapping, because there's been a gap, and when there's been the gap, they don't repeat the multi-wrap behavior anymore.
So Max is saying we have a new set. If we're asking for loop, loop on 3, we have a new set. E now becomes A, F becomes B. So, you're letting that dog make that turn before you start giving them the new cue for C, but they're going to still get it around B, just like they got it around B here. But then when they get up to E, we're letting them do their work, and we're moving on. Right? That moment of silence that Max mentioned. Okay, that's a really good question. And I think it's super pertinent. A lot of people would get into that struggle. Okay, let's go back to our slides. And now we're going to go back to mistakes.
Yeah.
So the biggest mistakes people make when they are training, or trying to train their dog.
Yeah, and then we go with the inappropriate reinforcing that we've just mentioned with the toy dropping, like rewarding in a wide turn, something like that. Even if your dog showed you a tight turn and then you're rewarding out of there, that's going to ruin your tight turns For sure.
Sometimes even just rewarding from your hand when the dog is executing the behavior on the wing. So we saw Susan's place of reinforcement, how it was perfectly timed, tossed back to the wing. She could have perfectly timed it by her side, but that wouldn't give the same effect as tossed back to the wing. So, but that also helps with the commitment for the dog. But we often see that the dog is executing and then the reward comes from the hand or just random. It's
they just throw it.
Good boy, here's your ball.
Right.
So yeah, that's and I think
throwing a ball that moves and bounces all over the place to reward a tight turn. Inappropriate reinforcement, people.
Yeah. Yes. And then rehearsing wide turns. And when we say rehearsing wide turns, it means a little bit similar what we mentioned also with the multi-wraps, that the dog is, for example, coming in extension. You ask for a turn, the dog is coming in extension, and then you correct them into a multi-wrap. That is just rehearsing the wrong behavior, or just not paying attention to if the dog is turning tight. So we allow them to turn wide and just keep running because it was good enough, but maybe it wasn't, the dog didn't necessarily meet the criteria. So what Susan mentioned in the beginning, that in training, we are trainers. If we are running a sequence and we ask the dog to do a loop, which is the tight left turn, and the dog is not doing a tight left turn, it is opening up the line and doing a wider turn, but we catch them on the line and we keep running. We focus on the sequence and we say, well, good enough, because we didn't eliminate, and then we keep running. But that's just rehearsing undesired wide turns.
I have a couple questions I want to jump in. Number one, people want to know how they can join the masterclass. Some of you are just watching this on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, and you want to become a member of the masterclass where you get the downloads, you get the Focus Forward video. There's the link to join the Agility Masterclass, dogsat.com/agility 2025. Okay, a couple of other things. Will this be replayed? Yes. If you go into the masterclass, you can watch and get the downloads there. Question, is there a lesson for a dog to bring back a toy? I can't throw a toy because my dog will run off with it. Yes, we have a program called Bring Me. Currently, as if you're a member of Homeschool the Dog or Recallers, you can get the Bring Me program for free. It's in there. Okay, so I just want to clean up. I'm overwhelmed by all these questions, which is great. But why train a multi-wrap if a dog only needs to turn once?
Yeah, for us, it's what we said about the commitment more than the tight turn. So it's a great commitment. For example, when we want to start adding a little bit of movement, that we can move out of the turn and we ask the dog to repeat the behavior. So it's more commitment training rather than a tight turn training. But what we want to see is that when we are asking for the loop, like Susan demonstrated with Prophet, you could see that the head was turning in to a second turn. That's the behavior that we want. And then to reinforce that, they can get a second lap. But it's not something that we necessarily do to create a tight turn from the beginning. We have another one of training mistakes. Using tight turn cue for soft turns. We touched on that a little bit. Very common that what we said earlier, there's a situation where it should be a soft turn, but we know that if I don't cue the tight turn, my dog might not turn. So I cue my tight turn in a soft turn situation, and then I kind of ruin my cues and my dog training to get that one sequence or that one competition run. And what Susan said about world championships, there was some really fast handlers, and you could see some handlers doing like catch-gear turns, helping the dog with what we said was props to get that really, really tight turn. But that's the world championships. Like, should we do that in training?
That's not the
Should we-
standard we should go.
No,
Yeah, you
no.
can use that there on like the highest level. You could like ruin it
Right.
for once, but
And that's what I said. It's crazy because people watching the World Championships will go, "Oh, I should do a catch-ger here." But those people you're watching probably won't do a catch-ger on a normal trial. It's the AWC. So I'm going to do as whatever I can. Maybe it's not the perfect thing, but I want to get my lines as tight as I can for this one event. And then I'll go back to improving my training improve my lines with training. Doesn't mean that every handler there would do something different. I'm just saying, don't necessarily copy them.
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. And I think you've touched on it, Enya, but the reliance on props handling or all of that. It's basically just what we've talked about, but like I want to go even a little deeper. And if that's the thing, that's the only thing that can help you create a tight turn in your training or in your runs. And for example, you can't run as fast that day, or it's a new type of course, then you have absolutely no chance of getting around that course and getting a nice turn. If that's the only thing that you have, that's gonna be a problem. And I'm not saying that I'm not using it like an AWC if it's very, very necessary, but it shouldn't be your standard. Standard can be higher, way higher.
And I think everyone that saw us run agility knows that I like to run with my dogs. I can run with my dogs, and I like to use my running. And that doesn't mean we don't do the training required. Like, I'm not faster than my border collie, and I need him to understand to execute all the behaviors, even if I'm not running. If I would teach him that if you need to turn tight, I will be there to shape your line and do the K-turn or the catch-ger, then that's going to require me to be everywhere, and it's not possible.
Sure.
So, okay, a couple other mistakes is you have the behavior of the tight turn over a jump. Like you saw my cue is loop, to turn tight to the left. And you use that right from the beginning over a bar. So as you're going to learn in this masterclass, we have a lot of things that we teach away from the bar. We have a new cue that isn't loop that the dog learns first. That is a precursor to them doing a loop. So when you are like putting up wings or gates or putting the toy on the ground and you're adding a cue to that, you're saying to the dog, when you hear loop, look for a toy. When you hear loop, look for a gate and bank and come in off of it. When you hear loop, it doesn't mean collect your body, do what you can do to decelerate and turn your head. Like there's so many things we're going to share with you next. What are the elements that make a great tight turn for the dog? But if you add a cue, when the behavior that you're seeing is dependent on all of these other things, the bar has to be super low. A lot of puppies can turn nice and tight over a bar on the ground. Mm-hmm. Is that the same as your dog jumping 60 centimeters or 24 inches? So you're adding a cue to something that doesn't look like what it is that the final product is going to be. It's a dependent behavior. We want to help you to create an independent behavior, and then we're going to show you how to add the cue to that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is so true. And I've seen it so many times that the dogs turn very nicely when they are young and on very low bars. And then people stay on that for such a long time, and they don't raise the bar at one point because the turn gets worse. And then they go lower again and they wait a little longer on the low bar, which just creates more problem because the dogs are going to get faster. They're using even less enough to make this with accelerating. There's just so many steps that we're going to teach you. And honestly, like we're teaching you a lot in this masterclass, but there's even more nuances that are in handling 360 to tight turns.
We're gonna teach you as much as you can, but we only have you for like 4 sessions, and we're gonna give you a lot of great learning in those 4 sessions. But handling 360 is a year, and there's a lot more in there. Okay, we had questions. I just want to do a demonstration of. So there's 3 different types of turns that people are confused with. So if I was to turn my body in a circle, that would not help my dog turn. So what we call a post turn. Yeah. So I'm going to keep Max and Enya on so that they can talk through this. So I'm going to go and set the camera. So it's going to be a small video, but a post turn would be the dog is turning and I'm not supporting them with my body. Right? You're actually
pivoting in a way where that can make the dog open up the line and do it a little bit wider.
I got to get this out of there because I don't want him to get hurt. So this bloop, 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 bloop. So the dog is just, it looks like it would be nice and tight. This isn't a great example because he does naturally turn tight. That is one way. At speed, at full height, it might be a slightly wider. With some dogs, it might be really wide, especially a herding breed that doesn't want to dig in. They want to flank on their turns. This could be really wide. So that is a post turn or a same side turn. The dog doesn't change side. He starts on the right, he ends on the right. The next one is a front cross. Thank you, Mike. Mister, thank you. So front cross starts on the right, ends on the left. Loop, loop, loop. I create a barrier with my body for him to come in. That helps him to turn.
That's a problem.
Yeah. And then the question was about a Ketchker turn, which was named after one of Max's countrymen, I believe. Yeah. Am I right, Max?
Yeah, Jürgen Ketchker. He was even in a European team with me a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
So he's still very active.
So that would be a front cross followed by a blind cross. So instead of the dog going from the right side to the left, they go from the right to the left, back to the right. It looks like this. Loop, 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 loop. Good. All right, so a Ketchker is you're helping that dog to come super tight, but you still want them on the same side. So if you could trust your training, thank you. Prophet, thank you. If you could trust your training, you could just go loop, 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 and know that your dog's going to come in straight. But if the dog had a natural tendency to flank or go wide, then people would pretend that they're going to do a front cross, loop, 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 and then they would do the blind to help that dog come tighter. All right, so it gives everyone a little background.
Yeah. And this is what we meant when we said that people might be doing this to get the perfect line at the big competitions, but maybe when we use it in normal competitions or even in training, that the dog will start relying on the body to be able to turn tight.
Yeah. And why do these 2 movements help and why does the other one not help with the body? It's very simple because your driving force in the Ketchker and the front cross in that situation is going in the opposite direction of where your dog is coming from. So you're naturally slowing them down on their way towards the jump and the wing, either with yourself staying there in the front cross or with the Ketchker. And if you're doing your pivoting, so if you're turning with your dog in the direction, your motion is actually going in that direction and driving force like away from the line. But we do need those type of turns, and we can train our dogs in a way of doing that, still turning very tight, which we've just seen. Actually, Prophet hasn't done anything different, no matter which handling you've done. Of course, it was no big speed now, but still, like for him, it's like, I know my loop. You can't fool me. Yeah, because he has the understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna go now to maybe I'll answer some of the, put out some of these questions. Is it unfair to expect a dog to turn tight without proper fitness? Many in agility don't do any fitness. So just touch on that.
Yeah. So, like, quick opinion from me. I think fitness is very, very, very important. But there's a but. So I'm not against all of these workouts and all of like the fitness plans, and I have done them I am doing it with my dogs. But we all three agree that the most important thing for a dog's fitness and health, physically and mentally, is being outside off leash daily for like
nature.
Yes, nature, like walking outside off trails, so they learn how to use their body, because that's a natural reaction to it. So that is the most important thing. And my personal ground rule is that even on the bad days, at least 5 to 7 kilometers a day, my dogs are walking, and that's on the bad days. So just like to give, because everybody's always asking, yeah, but like how much, like at least on a bad day where I have no time or I'm sick, 5 to 7 kilometers is the minimum my dogs are walking a day. Much rather more than that.
Yeah, and if you're limited on time, I would say if you need to choose, taking my dog for an off-leash walk, for sniffing, decompressing, running in the forest, versus standing on fitness ball, like the gym balls, then the forest should be your choice. It's so helpful and they build so much muscle when they move freely out in the nature and in the terrain. So yes, fitness is important, but what Max said is so important. Don't get caught up by the word fitness, that your dog needs to go to the gym and stand on the fitness balls and doing all of that. The proprioception training is very important for agility, but they also learn that in the forest. So and the dogs need that decompressing, sniffing, just relaxing in the forest.
So the off-leash walking in nature accomplishes more than just training the muscles of their body. And so if you have to pick one, I think the fitness programs that we talked about, and we use them here a lot, but never to replace going for walks. Yes. So we the three of us feel very, very strongly about that.
So the fitness training you can do is an add-on to your walks, but the walk is a non-negotiable.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the answer is yes. Like, dogs need to be fit before you're doing. I mean, we're going to teach you things today that you can do with a puppy. But to do jumps, tight turns at height, especially when you add speed, that requires so much strength from a dog. I would not do that without knowing that my dog, like if I had most of my dogs, by the time they're 15 or 16 months, they look like mature dogs. I would say Prophet probably is the one that didn't, like, he wasn't all muscled up like a mature dog. But so I would, and so there were things at 15 months that I didn't do with him, with jumping, that I did do with my past dogs. So like I took my time with him because I've always thought he's got too much speed for the muscle that he has. And that could cause a damage to the ligaments and the tendons. So yes, I think fitness is super, super important. And that really goes without saying. Okay, so let's quickly go through the circumstances that create tight turns like naturally, and the ones that are, so the way this is kind of drawn is, the ones that go all the way across the screen, they're not, like, they're just going to be tight turns. So if you jump the dog in a course and there was a wall right beside the turn to the left, the wall is going to create the tightest turn your dog's ever seen. You said some dogs might bounce off that wall as they're making their tight turn.
Still gonna be a tight turn though. And it's the same with the dog maybe slower moving, like physically that dog will turn tight. If they're not coming with force, power, speed, the dog will turn tight.
Just physics. Simple physics.
Exactly. It's just straight physics. So this E, who goes, slightly slower than a dog like Prophet, is always going to naturally be a tighter turner. However, she could still turn wide. There still needs to be training to help them turn as tightly as they can. But a dog that moves slower. So don't think if your dog, let's say you are thinking of joining Handling 360 and you say, oh, I don't need this because my dog already turns tight. Well, as you're in Handling 360, we're going to teach that dog to go as fast as they can. Suddenly you are going to have a dog who turns wide, right? So I think all dogs need that foundation training. Whether you need it immediately, you will need it when the dog learns the joy of the game.
Yeah. So I saw a question here in the chat that I want to quickly say.
Yep.
So Jennifer's asking, I can get my fast dog to turn tight when drilling or doing small sequences. When running faster on a course, she becomes more aroused and jumps in extension. How do you work on this? And basically, everything, all of these steps that we mentioned earlier, the pain points and the reasons why, especially the reasons why, you probably missed some of the foundations where your dog learned how to cope with your motion. So that's just something I want to add because we hear that so many times. But believe me, Jennifer, if you follow that class right here, the masterclass, you will have lots of things to take from for your own
100%.
training.
I promise you, Jennifer, if you, like Max said, you do the lessons that we're going to share over the next 4 masterclass, like today and the next 3, 100% will help your dog turn tighter for sure. Okay, so dogs that are turning into a barrier on course, they're going to go tight. A dog that's moving slower, they're going to go tight. A dog with a handler that's at every turn, they might not go as tight as the wall, but they're still going to go tighter than if the handler wasn't there. And then the next one is a dog with a handler who understands how to use their speed and their body to create the lines that they want. Those are things that are also going to help that dog turn tight. And finally, what we want from you.
Yeah, or a dog that is independently trained to turn tightly, which is the best of it all.
Yes.
Especially better than jumping into barriers and walls. Yeah, so your dog that has learned to turn independently, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't learn how to help your dog physically at some turns or how to alter speed or lines or whatever. But it just gives you that core strategy of your dog knowing how to turn tightly in every situation.
Okay, so there's a couple more questions there. Some people say it's hard to walk your dogs off leash. There's places you could go to. Sniff spots in here in North America are big. You could go and rent time there where you get a property and you get the opportunity to go off leash. Go to a farmer and say, can I walk my dog in the back of your field when your animals won't be there? And there's things you can do. There are reasons why you can't, but there's always a way you can, for sure.
And there's one thing that I've mentioned when I've been to Australia. I saw there was an Australian comment as well. So what I'm doing, or what I'm recommending to people who maybe in their area can't walk off leash, and in the mornings before work, they don't have the time to drive somewhere. There's these long leashes that you can put on a harness. So your dog is actually on a leash and you can even hold the end of it. But it's it can be 5 meters long, which is way better than just your dog being around in your little area.
For sure. Okay, we're going to go now to some homework. First, we're going to do an overall, just a quick overview of what we're going to teach you today, our lesson 2, 3, and 4. And then we are going to give you some homework for your first lesson. Okay, so there's 4 phases to what we're going to teach you. The first one is we're just isolating the layers of the skill. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to isolate the first layer for you. Okay, next.
Intro to non-equipment cue. So we're going to do, just like Susan mentioned earlier, there's going to be a cue, 2 cues actually, of giving our directional cues and how to teach them, and also why it's not exactly the same one as we're using on the jump.
Yeah.
So we are going to be teaching you verbal directional tight turns, meaning there'll be one for the right and one for the left. Lesson 2, we're going to go into more detail why we feel strongly that every single person doing agility should have this. But that's what we're going to teach. And so we encourage you to come up with 2 cues. You can think about this now. You're not going to use them right away, but 2 cues that tell your dog to turn on the flat. Nothing to do with agility. Just turn in a circle on the flat to the right and to the left. And it doesn't matter what those cues are, but they can't be anything that you're using in agility. So if you say right for your dog to do something over a jump in agility, this is not what you're going to use. Where you're going to use these cues is outside of agility, and there's one other place, and that is at the end of weave poles, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
So for me, Enya and I have very similar, and most people have a problem with the right. So we say, and if you can't roll your R's, that's not a good one for you. Simone uses arriba, 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 arriba. So something that has an R for right.
Or like vroom, yeah.
Yeah, Linda does vroom, vroom, vroom. That's a good one.
Yeah. One of the really unique things that we do is that the reason we use the R and the L or Li.
Yep.
Yes. So I use the R and L, and then that will turn into the right and the left later. So it's the first letter of what will be my turning cues on the jump.
Correct.
But we are not going to use the cues that will be the turning cues on the jump for the turns on the flat. And one of the main reasons why we don't do that is because when we say the cue to turn on the jump, we want the thought in the dog's head to be find a jump, turn it in that direction tight. And if we use them on the flat, then that can create a lot of spinning in front of the jump.
And they're less likely to want to leave you. So it's so important that you follow this process. You're going to have amazing results, but follow the process. So number 1, we're going to isolate the layer. Number 2, we're going to introduce you to a non-equipment cue. Number 3, we're going to eliminate the props because you will need a prop. Tell you that next time. And number 4 is we're going to transition it to other equipment. All right. And we'll go into more details in our next session, but I want you, before we leave, to know what we want you to do. So the first thing we need you to do is get your dog to turn to the right and to the left. And so we want to make sure that the dog isn't stiff and sore in any one direction. So I'm going to show you a couple of things, and you guys can look through the comments and see if there's questions while I'm doing this. I'm going to change my camera. I'm going to keep Max and Enya on. So there we go. We're not going to use the jump. First thing I'm going to do is just make sure my dog is not sore in any way. Come here, buddy. So I'm just going to put him between my legs here. And I just want to make sure that he's not sore in any direction. So I'll take a cookie, I'll put it on his shoulder to the right, see that bend? I'll put it on his shoulder to the left, see that bend? They look pretty equal. Now I'm going to take the cookie, I'm going to put it on his knee to the right. Now I'm going to put it on his knee to the left, okay? So does he collapse his shoulder to get that cookie? I'm going to put it on his hip now to the right. Here, Fat. Cook. Does he bend through his ribs there? Now to the other direction, cook. So I've got a dog that I see. Yeah, he looks like he's bending all right. So now what I'm going to do, you can use a target stick. Where'd that target stick go, Kim? You can use either a target stick, or for this one, I have no problem if you use a cookie lure. So what we want to do, if the dog knows target stick, cook. Betty, cook. Thank you. Get it. You can just turn them in a circle, give them a cookie. If you don't want to use a target stick, what we just want them to get doing is going in a circle. Yeah, it's good. So come here, buddy. So if you get them starting closer to you, it's easier to get them to turn. You want to eventually get your hand up high. So it's up above their head, but at first you might have to keep it nice and low because a lot of the dogs might just try and get the cookie. Maybe some It's Your Choices in play. Okay.
And also recognize that in this step, Susan is not using any words yet.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all we want right now. Come here, Fetty. Is get your dog turning in a circle one way, turning in a circle the other way. Can we get what? I purposely didn't so Max and Enya could talk. So use both hands, guys. It's not just a one-hand deal. It's all about the dog being comfortable doing this. And if
sorry.
And if your dog after a day or two or a session or two is happy, you're going to try and just not put the search. I dropped my cookie. Not put the cookie so low. So will they follow the hand up here? Just following the hand up here. Cool.
We do have a question.
Yep.
Kaylee says, can we use a cue that is turned towards me and turn away from me? All my cues are based on my position as I can't do left and right.
You can't do left and right. So why, is it Kayla? Did you say the name? Kaylee, why are you limiting yourself by saying I can't? We don't want to limit ourselves in life.
No.
I can't.
Yeah,
that's not good.
And
Kaylee,
if that wasn't true, what else could be true?
Yes, if that wasn't true, what might else be true? Okay, so
do you want me to power some reasons?
Kayla, I'm dyslexic and ADHD. Like there's no, listen, let me just share with you. When I'm like walking through life, I have to think about what's on my left and my right. Here's the good news about agility. I've been doing agility for almost 40 years. I have yet to walk a course and then have a judge change an obstacle and expect me to run it. So when I'm walking the course, I know when I'm going to say loop, 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 and rye, because I've walked that course. Yeah. So you don't really need to know left and right. You just need to memorize the course.
Yeah.
And if you can say that's a tunnel and this is a loop, loop, and don't even think about what's left and right. Just think of what is. So
what is loop loop? What is rye? What is tunnel? What is slalom or weaves? Yeah.
Because the obstacles are set once the judge puts that course out. Nobody magically changes anything.
Yeah, and it's the same in your training because you plan your session before. Before you send your dog to the jump, you will think, will I send my dog to a loop loop or to a rye? Will I send my dog to a jump or to a tunnel? It's the same thing. So don't think about it as left and right. Think about it as this is a loop loop, this is a rye.
Yeah,
exactly. And listen,
just like pictures.
I'll tell you how dyslexic I am. My second year of university, my English professor asked to use my assignments in a book she was writing about how illiterates have slipped through the education system in Canada, because my writing was so flipped backwards. And I had to explain to her that I wasn't an illiterate. When I got my first book award for writing one of my books, I was going to send her a little notification, but I didn't. But I digress. You know what? Don't limit yourself. It's my superpower. It's your superpower, girl. You can do this. We're going to talk more in our next session about why it's so important that we get directional and not relational cues.
Yeah.
So what we want is, number one, make sure your dog is flexible in both directions, or is equally as flexible, that they're not going, because we don't want to carry on with your training if there's something, maybe there's a rib out or something that needs to be fixed. But we've got that bend. Now we can try getting them to either follow a target stick or follow your cookie. And eventually we want to get them circling. Once they're circling with that hand, you can add your cue super quick. And so what that's going to look like is, my dog's going to be there. I'm going to say my word, which is going to mean nothing to them. And I'm going, if you don't want to go right and left, you can think that when you're going in a clockwise direction, that's your R word. And when you're going in a counterclockwise direction, that's your L word. So if you don't want to think about it in terms of right and left, think of it counterclockwise and clockwise. Do you guys say those terms in Europe?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, im Uhrzeigersinn oder gegen den Uhrzeigersinn.
That's what I thought it was.
We say towards the sun or away from the sun. I don't know why.
Really?
Or like with the sun, and I guess, yeah. I don't know why.
So, yeah, go ahead, Max. Go ahead.
Just one thing that I wanted to add on the Kaylee, do I do left and rights or not? So I know that, for example, for Susan, the help with the L and R is on point. For me, it's exactly the opposite. I named it on 2 words that are not related to left and right at all. So I would just memorize the picture. So you should get to know yourself. If I think you just wrote in the comments, clock might help. So try out it with the clock thing. That does work for you. Try to memorize, like, or with your hand, like, I write with right is that, or I write with left is that. Or don't even think about left and right and think about the picture of it. There will be a solution for everybody.
Truthfully, Max, that's what I do, and I didn't even realize I did it. I just see. I don't think in terms of right and left. I just see the picture, and I know Rai is this picture and Loop is that picture, and I didn't realize I did it until now.
Yeah, and there's a difference between a sit and a down. There's a difference between a yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
So step number 1, flexibility. Step number 2, create a behavior. And as Max pointed out, I wasn't saying anything to my dog. The only thing I said was cook as a way to tell him he could have his cookie, because he wasn't going to take it otherwise. All right. So we're just getting them going in one direction. And if it's easier, Kaylee, you might just do one direction one day and another direction another day, because then you could just rehearse in your brain, that's this picture. All right. And so you're going to, Andrea's got a suggestion. I have to hold my left thumb up to make, yes. So this was a writing thing. My coach used to say, if you look at your left hand, it makes an L. That was when I was holding the reins. That was easy for me. I knew which one when she would say left rein. So we're going to do flexibility. We're going to get turns with saying nothing. You're going to do that for a little while till your dog is comfortable turning in both circles. Then when you know there's a comfort level, we're going to put a name on the behavior. And so while you're doing those other things, it might take a couple of days to get the flexibility and get the freedom of the turns. Think of what are going to be your words that you're going to mean a right or a clockwise circle versus a left or counterclockwise circle. All right. So think about what your words would be. I think people have put some in the comments. Some of our students have put theirs in the comments. As Max said, I like to use my R and my L to remind me. So I'll just tell you that my turn on the flat, R and Lily, R and L. My tight turn over a jump is Rai and Loop. So R and L. My soft turns, which aren't super tight, they're softer, they're still R and L. It's Rover and Lynx. So all the way up, it's R and L for me. That doesn't have to be for you. I will give you a little tip. If you train with other people, try to get together and agree on the cues, because otherwise it messes with your brain when you're watching other people train. All right. So flexibility, get the behavior. When the dog's happy to do the behavior, then you say the word and then help them with your arm. Say the word and help them with getting the other turn. So the word doesn't mean anything. They're not going to do it, but you have to have a delay between, I'll just go and do it with Prophet. When we're about to add the words, this is what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to change my camera over. If there's any other questions, you guys can answer them while I'm changing my camera here.
No, but I was just going to say about the cues, what Susan explained, that she has the L words to the left and the R words to the right. That gives clarity to Susan, but also that gives a lot of clarity to the dog. So if the L and the R for the flat, for example, the R and L or Lily, and then that turns into Rai and loop, that gives so much clarity to the dog that they already know with the L first letter which way to turn their head.
So it's not going to be as easy for you because he knows what Lili and R mean. But it would look like this. We're just going to do a couple more following my hand. Couple more following my hand. All right. So now I want him to turn this way, which is clockwise. Cook, buddy. Sorry. And I'm going to say, he turns wrong. And then if your dog didn't move, then bring your hand around. So your dog will probably stand there and look at you, and I'm going to go lee, and then bring my hand around. Cook. So you don't want it to do, this is what most people will want to do. Sorry, buddy. No wonder my dog goes the wrong way. You don't want it to happen at the same time. We need to give the dog the opportunity to learn. So you say the word, which they're going to keep looking at you because they don't know what it means, and then bring your hand out. So leave a little second delay. So if I'm doing this with my golden retriever, my golden retriever is looking at me, probably wagging his tail. He's so happy.
Yeah, it's a retriever.
And I'm going to go, and then I'm going to bring my hand out, and my golden retriever is going to go. Okay, that is your homework for our next session. And here's the fun thing about, there's so many reasons why we do it this way. But one of the coolest things is agility. In the way we teach it in Handling 360, we do it all in something that I think Enya was the one who came up with this name, in this and that. Mm-hmm. So a tunnel might be this, a jump might be that. Agility is all about this and that.
It's all about making good choices. Yeah.
Jump far, jump close. Yeah. And so this is one of your dog's first this or that. Now, if your dog knows, it's your choice and different things like that, you might have others. These are the this and that we can help train your dog. Agility is about making decisions on the fly. And the nice thing about teaching R and Lili is they are this and that, so you can throw at your dog all day long once they know them.
Yeah. Christine says, my dog can turn on a cue, like it's one cue both ways as we've trained rally obedience, but the cues are close. It's twist and turn. Would it be better to put new cues on the movement where the front letters match the turning cue on the jump? Yes, you got it. You got it. You can still keep those for the rally obedience, but definitely the twist and the turn might be too close. So new cues that matches the turns on the jump, but it's not the same as the turns on the jump.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you another piece of homework, and it's going to be dependent on the size of your dog. I want you to find a cardboard box that's going to be approximately, ideally it would be square, but if it isn't square, the length of your dog. So bring that for our next time we're together on Friday. So that's just an aside, a cardboard box. It's one of the tools that we use.
If you need an excuse to buy another dog bed or something else, that's it right there. Susan, not you. You've got new ones.
No more dog beds, Susan.
I might have brought one home from Europe, another one. Yes, but I just gave Linda Orton Hill a dog because she's training Simone's puppy, and it was from, like, I selflessly bought another dog bed so she could have a box.
I love this. Good luck to the Great Dane owners.
So look at the circle your dog will turn in when they're between your legs. That's approximately how big we need that box to be. But always better to start out a little bit bigger than too small. And it doesn't need to be a tall box. You know, the sides really don't need to be that big. Okay. So this is going to be fun. Thank you guys for being here. But before we go, I'm going to share with you another great prize. Well, first of all, we're going to give away a prize.
Yes, I say that.
Linda or Kim gave me the paper. Okay. So the first winner of our tug toy goes to Angela Coop. Angela's an agility judge.
Ooh,
Angela.
How cool is that?
congratulations, Angela.
And,
Awesome.
and okay, I've got another. I'm hoping Max, Enya, and I have shared, and actually some gems came from the comments, that there were some gems that you guys picked up here along the way that you went, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to write this down. This is excellent and epic and awesome. I would like you to take those gems and go to one of two places. If you're watching this on YouTube, wait until the feed is closed. Come on back, like the video, and then share your gem in the comment section on YouTube. Or you can do this on Facebook. So one of those two places. On Friday, the three of us have one of our most epic sponsors. Of course, For My Merles is one of our epic sponsors, and the other one is Galligan Dog Agility Equipment from Spain. We love them. You would not believe the prize they're donating. It is a personal tunnel bag. So I'm going to show you what it's sort of like. It's going to have a Handling 360 logo. It's going to have your name and your dog's name. So this one they made for this E&I, but instead of it having the Canadian Agility Team logo, it will have Handling 360 here. It will have your name and your dog's name. And on the other bag, because you get two bags, they're attached with Velcro. On the other bag, it will have Galligan logo. Okay, so hearts for Galligan.
Yeah.
No, you can't win. You know those. It's like you're part of the team. You can't win. So hearts for Galligan. We're gonna pick a gem from everybody who contributes, and we are going to give away a Galligan tunnel bag. So all you have to do is either go to YouTube or Facebook. Don't go to YouTube yet. You have to wait because YouTube will delete all the comments from this live once it's over. Sad. You have to be a member of the masterclass, and you have to leave a gem, and then the team will read the gems. We all read the gems.
I love reading the gems.
We love learning what people picked up in this session. So yes, hearts for Gallican, and thank you guys for the great questions. I told you we were going to go a little long on this one because you guys had some amazing questions. So we will be back here on Friday, the same time, part 2. It's going to be epic and awesome. We will see you then.
Thank you. See you on Friday.
Bye.